In this video, I'm going to show you how to use reference mixes to enhance your mixing. A reference mix is a professionally produced track that shares some similar characteristics with the session you're working on, and it's a mix that you pick because you like what's going on in that recording, some aspect of it. Ideally, you will pick a song that is in the same genre as the song you're working on, and maybe has the same instrumentation. So here I have this Soul Cries Out session that we've been using for these videos, and it's a jazz quartet, right? It's piano, bass, drums, and saxophone, and it's kind of soulful and very just kind of modern sounding. All right, and then down at the bottom here, I have added 2 tracks, and both of these tracks are off the album Mood Swing by the Josh Redman Quartet. This album's from 1994, but it still holds up very well and sounds very fresh here in 2024. And I have 2 songs from the album, Rejoice and Faith. Rejoice is sort of a quicker track, and Faith is a slower tempo track, but they both have great tenor saxophone sounds, and just like the tenor saxophone player in the Brotet here, very soulful, very rich in tone. So that's the main reason that I picked this Josh Redman album, was for the saxophone sound. However, there's also great bass sound here. There's great drums. Everything about this album is pretty great. And so we're going to listen to these tracks a little bit and see what we like about them, what we want to use in our mix, what we don't like about them, or what we don't want to use in our mix. And, you know, this is just a guide to help you because these tracks are already known to be successful and they're already known to be mixed well. So this Rejoice track, I've actually bumped down, you'll notice, about 6 decibels. That's because this track has already been mastered and our track has not been mastered yet. So mastering is the final stage in the production process where a mastering engineer will make final sonic and tonal changes to a track or all the tracks on an album, and also usually raise the volume up quite a bit. So we haven't been mastered yet. This track hasn't been mastered, so I bumped the volume down just to sort of compensate to make them sound closer together. Let's take a listen to this. I'm going to solo the track and then unmute it. So right away, I notice a few differences in their track. There is a greater sense of presence. The instruments are closer. That could be a function of the loudness and the compression added at the mastering stage. It could just be that I'm using less compression than the mixing engineer for this track, but that's a difference I notice. I notice that the drums are panned differently. They're panned from the drummer's perspective, and they are also wider, and the piano here is narrower. That's a difference in decision. I chose to make my piano very wide and the drums a little more narrow. So yeah, just these differences, right? And you don't have to take all of the, everything from the reference track and change your whole track around. This is pointing you in the right direction. You still have to make the decisions. Let's listen to the Faith track. Brought that track in volume down in volume 2. So I notice here that like the onset of the notes of the saxophone, the attacks of the notes are obscured. And that could be a couple things. That could be the saxophone player not tonguing as hard on the reed, right? But to me, it kind of sounds like they have a compressor with a fast attack time. And so that compressor is stomping on the attacks of the notes. And that was obviously a conscious decision on their part. I'm not sure why. I actually kind of prefer to hear those attacks a little bit more. And so I wouldn't adopt that for my mix unless the client wanted it. But these are the kind of decisions you want to make. These are the things you want to listen for: the balance, the stereo field, the width of it, and how much reverb and other depth type of effects that they're using. There's really I can't tell you how to do this in a video. You're just going to have to start experimenting with reference tracks. So when you have a mix, find tracks that you are confident are mixed well in the genre you are mixing, and bring those tracks right into your session and just leave them muted at the bottom and use them as another tool to get better at mixing.